So what we want to do is we want to start the process of you being able to speak with some of the customers of BPC that are here. So what I want to do is I want to ask 4 people, please, just to come up onto the stage, and then I'm going to run a discussion with them from this point. So first of all, I'd like to ask Ramiro Wong from Telered to come onto the stage. I'd like to ask Guy Melna from Afriland Bank. Hi, Guy. I'd like to ask Ms. Tan Hin from ABB Bank to come to the stage, please. And I'd like to ask Alexei Golenishev from Alpha Bank, please, to come onto the stage. So, first of all, by way of introduction, could I ask you first, Ramiro, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your responsibilities, what your organization is, and what your objectives are as a business?
Good afternoon. My name is Ramiro Wong. I'm the CEO for Telered. We are a processors company in Panama. We have 39 institutions, and we went live last year with the Smart Vista. We have ATMs and POS acquired license for MasterCard and Visa.
So Guy, could you go on?
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you, Ryan. Well, I'm Guy Tiamfoto Guy Merlin from Afriland First Bank previously. I've been in the bank for about 10 years. Then we went live with Smart Vista last year. And from then we decided to have the solution for all the banks that belong to the same group, because we have a group where the bank belongs. And we externalize in a new company all the process of payment system. And a company was created for that purpose. And I'm actually the general manager of that company.
So how far are you at with that process? I know you're active in Cameroon, but are any of the other countries live yet?
Well, at the end of this year, we expect at least to have 2 other countries. And before the end of 2014, we think that we should be able to connect, let's say, 5 more banks to the platform.
Okay, great, fantastic. Christine, could you give us an introduction?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Hiền. I'm work in the CAC operation center of the AB Bank in Vietnam. We using the Smart Vita from the 2010, and until now we also develop our system and connect to the national switching company, and we are a member of the Visa CAC. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Alexei?
Меня зовут Алексей Голенищев, я возглавляю дирекцию мониторинга электронного бизнеса Альфа-банка. В сферу ответственности моего подразделения входит мониторинг, фрод-мониторинг рисковых операций, эмиссии, эквайринг, и в том числе каналы удаленного банковского доступа для физических лиц, ну это интернет-банк, мобильный банк и так далее, для физических лиц и для юридических лиц.
Thank you.
Спасибо.
So, the theme of the conference that we're running is innovation, revolution, and transformation. And we chose that theme because that is what we experience. That's what we see in terms of delivering a solution to the marketplace. It's the way we see our competitors behaving in the marketplace. These changes, we're globally active, and whilst these changes have slightly different priorities, region by region, generally speaking, the changes are happening everywhere. So what I wanted to ask the panel is, what is your view about the payment markets? Is it a revolution? Is this just perhaps an accelerating process in the payments era that's just accelerating things that have gone on before? Are things actually fundamentally changing or not? Guy, would you like to give us the first answer on that?
Well, sure. My position is that it is both some fundamental change and some acceleration. Mm-hmm. We can compare it to how well people would come from, say, using, I'll take an example that I heard about Russia.
Yeah.
Russia skipped the usage of check, unless I'm wrong. It means when you go from one means of payment to the other, either you go faster or you change fundamentally. The way that payment system is evolving now is that soon we'll be having less and less cash flow and cash notes in the world, and we'll have to do the payments either by mobile or by cards or by the internet. And that's why I think it is a fundamental change, and it is growing very fast.
Okay. Would you agree with that, Ramiro?
Yes, I agree. I agree, Ugai. Everything is changing, especially in the service and the fraud prevention systems, because even the economy sometimes are kind of slow in different countries. Other countries are improving, and the way to do it is to have new services and deliver new solutions.
Okay. So you mentioned fraud prevention specifically there. Thank you. Ms. Hien, what would your view be? Are we in revolution or are we in transformation?
I also agree with us, and I think that for the fundamental changing is because the payment markets, you and all of us know that with the payment markets, and all of the people can do everything in another countries, and we do not have to pay any cash. And I think the fundamental changing is okay.
Okay. So is innovation has the need to innovate become a core process, a core part of your business model? The need to bring out new products, new services, new channels?
Yes, and I think that for the nearly in some years, the bank and the cash processing always the thinking and always the find out the new products and new and enhancement the technology for the focus in the customer.
Yeah. Okay. Ramiro, I know your change to Smart Vista was driven by you moved from a legacy platform to Smart Vista, so I can understand with legacy platforms there's a need to renew them at some stage. But was part of that renewal process needing to innovate in your marketplace?
Yes, the reason that we moved from a legacy platform to Smart Vista was to have time for new development of products, also for time to market products, because before it used to take longer, and with a new database and all the solutions that Smart Vista provides, it helps us to improve our service.
Okay. And Guy, I guess from what you've already said that whatever you're doing for those extra 7 countries is about innovation, or am I wrong?
Well, it's about innovation, because in our business model, innovation is some sort of do or die. Things are evolving so fast, new ideas are coming in, and if you're not into innovation, you keep following the others, and the market is so small that you'll end up out of the market.
Okay. I'm going to follow on to you with another question, because I think coming from Africa, you maybe have a different perspective on this, but we seem to be seeing a lot of convergence. So NFC and contactless cards seem to be the sort of thing that can be built into a phone now, and is the actual physical plastic card becoming the phone? Are the two converging? Are they going to be separate? And I guess, the thing that always fascinates me about Africa is do you see a situation where Africa will genuinely have large-scale ATM networks, or will there be a convergence of the things that ATMs deliver to us in the West and the rest of the world with different types of channels and devices in Africa? What do you think?
Well, I think definitely that there's going to be a convergence, and it is a need to have that convergence. For example, statistics may be different from one person to the other, but Most of them agree on the fact that in Cameroon, the population that accesses banking services is, say, below 15%.
Yeah.
But in Cameroon, it's not that long that mobile phone came in, but you have more than 50% of the population that already accesses mobile phones. So the need to have mobile phones and banking services come together is a must, because it's the only way to access most of the population. And the population is so spread that it is the best way to have the service to the population. And they are willing to use those services. Yeah. They need those services, but they don't want it to be facing all the risk of having the cash with them.
Okay.
So I definitely think that convergence is going to be the solution to most of these issues.
Ms. Hin, is it the same in your country, in your region?
Yes, in our region, especially in our countries, in a few years, the mobile phone is very, very popular, and I think that the M-Post and the mobile banking is also the very win-win developed in the few years. For the M-Post, M-Post currently is in Vietnam also. In Vietnam, we are thinking about the payment solution for some billing payment, and therefore the M-Post, I think in the few years, maybe the 1 year later, and been very, very popular.
Okay. Yeah. Alexei made a good point there about mobile point of sale as well. So not only is the mobile device, the telephone, becoming the access point of choice for the consumer, the customer, it could also be becoming the access point of choice for merchants as well. We can imagine that you could have large department stores where shop assistants carry around and process transactions from a phone rather than from a large clunky point of sale device. Ramiro, do you have any views on that?
Yes. Well, everything is changing, and from the standpoint of mobile, even the merchants are trying to change into ID and having new services deploy at the mobile stations. And you need a very powerful processing system behind in order to attend those requirements.
Okay. Alexei, I wanted to come to you first with a question now, because it's about fraud, and obviously that's the area where you're most active. The question I have in front of me is one I'm not going to ask, because it says, have we beaten the fraudsters? And I know the answer to that is niet. So what I would ask you, the way I would phrase it, is as financial institutions, do we have greater control over the fraudsters now or not? So, Ramiro, in Central America, what are the issues in fraud for you, and do you have more control?
Well, with fraud, we recently implemented EMB in Panama. We are the 5th country in Latin America to be surprised to implement EMB. And fraud runs very high, especially in America. It's over $40 billion. And all those costs get transferred to the customers through the card fees every year. So you need a very strong prevention system in order to reduce that. We feel like with the system that we implement, we are trying to contribute lowering those costs to the consumer.
Yeah, I see that in a lot of banks in Western Europe. You know, what they're saying to me is there's an extraordinary amount of fraud which is appearing from America, because it can appear from America. And it's about time that they were following Panama and putting in place EMV. Guy, I mean, you're in what's it like in Africa?
Well, unfortunately, Africa, we have a lot of countries that are reputed for being very active by frauders. For our bank, what we did was we went directly to EMV. EMV was implemented a little before we came to migrate to Smart Vista.
Yeah.
We're also using the different rules that we can put in place in the fraud module of Smart Vista to make sure that we cover up everything. And my opinion is that we may consider that we'll keep on for at least a while being behind the fraudsters, because they always come up with new ideas.
Yeah.
They always come up with new ideas, and it's up to us now to make sure that when they get an idea, we don't take too much time to tackle that the issue, the new scheme.
And is it the case that fraudsters in Africa attack African banks in preference to, say, attacking European banks or Asian banks, or am I making a false assumption there?
Well, I wouldn't know if they have any preference for any bank or any country, but I would say that they use techniques depending on who they want to attack that make people vulnerable to them differently. Yeah. And through the internet, you have people who try to get your private information on your card in different ways. Maybe it works more for people abroad, Africa, because like it or not, internet penetration is not that high in Africa at this time. No. So most of those who will be victim to that will be out of Africa.
Yeah. And yet, what fascinates me is one of our customers is the State Bank of Mauritius. And State Bank of Mauritius is one of the 10 biggest internet acquirers on a global basis. So, I know for a fact that they're investing in Smart Vista, they're going to invest in our fraud solutions, they're investing in other fraud solutions. So there is certainly the willingness to combat fraud in those organizations. Ms. Heath, I don't know what you do on the fraud front. What's the situation?
Yes, for the fraud, before we using Smart Vista, we also using another software. But when we using the Smart Vista, we also use the fraud module. And from the 2010 until now, we're very happy with the fraud module of the Smart Vista. And you know that some country besides Vietnam, is Thailand and Malaysia and Singapore. So they also moved to chips, but Vietnam not yet. Okay. And therefore, most of the guys come from another country, go to Vietnam to set up the scheming and do anything. But with the Smart Vista now, currently we control and we also set up the parameter in the front. And now currently we control.
And how many people do you have in your fraud department?
The fraud department, we have the five people. Yep.
Okay, good. By the way, obviously I'm having a very nice conversation up here. Are there any questions from the floor? Anything you want to ask? Nothing in particular? Obviously, you'll all be here for some time, so if you want... Oh, there's a question from Dave.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, if there's one of the customers...
No, please.
Okay. So I have a question for the panel, and it's selfish because I'd like an answer to help me. I was asked recently to do a presentation at short notice on mobile payments. Was it evolution or revolution? So I reached the conclusion that it was both, and that in mature markets where there was massive infrastructure for acquiring and switching, it was evolution and it was just one more channel. And that all of the revolution and the innovation would come out of the emerging markets where that infrastructure did not exist. So my question is simple. Did I get that right, or do I need to go back and rework my assumptions?
Who'd like to have the first go at answering Dave's question?
Well, my opinion is you got it right. My opinion is you got it right. I'm witnessing things that are evolving in Cameroon. Most of the mobile operators are going into mobile payment and things like those. And banks are trying to go into the same business at the same time, so they conflict one another. And at the end, you will have banks trying to figure out what they can do to step on the market of the mobile operators, as well as the mobile operators are stepping on their market. So I think your conclusion is right from my point of view.
And in Africa, how do you see that resolving itself? Because, I mean, obviously the big situation that we know in Africa is M-Pesa, which has become a giant payments-based organization, and yet in the end, it's a mobile company. Is that going to pan out everywhere?
Well, something we're working on at this time is trying to set up a scheme like a mobile virtual operator.
Yep.
Because that way we can recruit directly from our base clients and try to push our own products rather than relying only on the products of the operators.
Okay.
I know that also other groups, banking groups in Africa are working on a similar scheme.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure that it is the only way to tackle the issue. But
so partnerships between mobile operators and banks are not going to develop?
I'm not sure. Okay. That's my point of view. I'm not sure. But there are partnerships that exist, but they are not very successful from my point of view at this time.
Okay, and that's no problem. Point of view is what we want. Ramiro, what's your point of view?
Well, in Panama it's different because we got the regulators, and everyone stick to their own business. So the banks had to be responsible for all the money, and the communication people had to be responsible for the mobile.
And Ms. Hin, what's the situation in Indochina? Are there
in
bank, mobile company alliances?
Yes, we are in Vietnam, and I think that in Vietnam market for the mobile banking, now currently it's a beginning, and therefore I'm not sure the correction.
It's a green field, as we like to say.
And maybe in 1 year later and 2 years later, the Vietnam will develop it.
If it becomes clear in 1 year, that's a really short time period. Really
yes, I think because with the technology developed in currently, I think that 1 year and 2 years maybe the Vietnam will develop the mobile banking is more.
Okay. Were there any more questions from the floor? No? Okay. I'm going to finish with a really interesting question, both for me and probably for all of you in the audience. The final question I'm going to ask of everybody is, looking specifically, and you have quite a variety of length of experience with BPC, so this will give us a good spectrum in terms of responses. Looking at your experience with BPC and BPC running on projects in your organizations, what do you think we do well, and what do you think are the things we could improve on? Ramiro.
Well, the good things are you deliver. You make a fulfillment or a promise of sales. So it's not only try to make a solution, but make it work. And maybe you could improve a little bit to be presenting more innovating ideas like this forum every year.
Okay. Guy.
Well, I fully agree with Ramiro. The things that you do is exactly how you said. The other thing that I greatly appreciate about BPC and the solution Smart Vista is this modular approach that allows to take the bricks that you need and then put them together each time you want to work. What I would suggest is to try to drive a little bit more on communication, because that's one of the issues that we had when we were working on our project. We had quite some communication issues, and it ended up needing that we do extra work to catch up.
Okay. Ms. Hin, what's your view on BPC?
Yes, with BBC, and I think that I only a little comment is maybe because BBC sell the software and solution in over the world, and therefore you need to understand the local local bank in each country. For example, maybe but now currently with our bank, and we are very happy with the BBC team because we after the discussion, your team also understand what we want and how to work together between our bank and BBC, and BBC have the support team is very good especially. I remember it, Mr. Sergey. Sergey also supports us every time, and they can call to the Moscow and also support us, especially in the holiday of the Moscow. And we are very appreciative about the cooperation between the BBC with us. Yeah.
Fantastic. Interestingly, it's great to hear those comments like that, because when I'm working in Europe, the thing that I stress, people ask me what is it that sets BPC apart, and one of the things that I always say sets BPC apart is our commitment to delivery. The criticisms that you've given, I accept those and I would acknowledge those, but I think that the thing that there is throughout BPC as an organisation, whether it's from the most senior person or the most junior person, is a commitment to delivery. So I really appreciate those views from you. And that is the end of the client panel. I would like to thank you all for being prepared to do this and being prepared to offer your views. I have no doubt that as soon as this is finished, people will then come up to you and ask you supplementary questions about what you've said, because they want to drill deeper into what you've said. But I appreciate you coming onto the stage and doing this for us. Thank you very much.